we're very grateful for that. And that, along with all the fill that we got from your Morningside or that one project that you have, we took that and we're using it to our advantage. And I just think you guys need to know they were great to work with and really appreciate that. Second of all, I want you guys to know that working with your public health office during this pandemic, Jennifer Smith and her staff have been really great to work with. And I think that's important for you guys to know that they have been very helpful to our staff and getting resources and getting information to us so that we can make decisions. So I want to say thank you to that. Third, I want to say thank you to you guys for your money that we got from the CARES Act. Whether we've publicly said that or not, I need to publicly say thank you for the dollars that we used primarily in technology for Chromebooks, our firewall, those things that we had, and it was we're very grateful for that. Okay, and then finally, I'm going to shift my hat and I'm going to say thank you to you as a member of McLeod for Tomorrow with your continuous support of that program. I think it's really neat that the county invests in leadership. It's a fairly small amount of dollars when you compare it to the big picture of the of your big budget that you have. But I think it's really cool that the county invests in leadership development like that, and it's very appreciative. So thank you very much for your time and support.
Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
It's really nice to open a new building with all those good accolades. We'll take them any day. Thank you. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. COVID-19. Barrett.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Nice to see you in the new building. Nice to be here.
Good morning.
As of yesterday afternoon, McLeod County has had a total of 3,495 positive cases of COVID-19. At the last board meeting on March 1st, 2 weeks ago, I reported 3,393 positive cases. That's an increase of 102 cases in the last 2 weeks. That number does remain low, but it is starting to slightly climb. I believe probably a month ago we were at 50 for the last 2 weeks, and so we are climbing there and keeping an eye on that. We currently have 52 active cases in the county, and unfortunately have had 53 COVID-19 related deaths since the start of the pandemic. For more information or statistics on COVID-19 and how it's affecting our county, please feel free to go to the county website, and our dashboard is there. The county's GIS team is helping us keep that updated on a regular basis. So thank you to them. Of course, as you know, we're continuing to focus on our vaccination planning. As of Saturday, we've held 21 closed pod, which means invite-only, vaccination clinics to vaccinate Phase 1A, which is healthcare personnel, Phase 1B, Tier 1, which is E12 education and childcare providers, and 65 plus. We have recently moved into Phase 1, Tier 2, which is food processing plants. We have administered 2,295 first doses and 1,011 second doses for a total of 3,316 doses administered to the county, to people in our county. We continue to have vaccination clinics approximately 2 times a week, sometimes on the occasional Saturday as needed. As I mentioned before, the Minnesota Department of Health's goal is for all vaccines to be, 90% of vaccines, to be administered within 72 hours of receipt. We are currently at 99%, so we are exceeding that goal. And then 100% of vaccines within the first 7 days, and we are accomplishing that as well. As of March 11th, people in McLeod County that have received, 7,107 people in McLeod County have received at least their first dose. So 19.8% of the county have received at least one dose, which is, that number continues to grow, and we're excited about that. Again, check out our website, Facebook page for updates on who we're vaccinating, when we're vaccinating, how to get vaccinated, My message today is to just stay vigilant, wear your mask, social distance, stay home when you're sick, take whatever vaccine is offered to you. I know some people are waiting for the one dose. We might not get that for a while, so if we call you and say we've got Moderna 2-dose, take it. They are all the same effectiveness. And be proactive in getting your vaccine. If you've been put on a list, don't wait for them to call you. Continue to check our website and sign up if you are eligible. Any questions for me?
Board, any questions for Barrett?
No, thank you.
I've got both of my shots, and everything went just really slick. It's a compliment to you and your staff. It went really well. I didn't see anyone having any problems.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Sheila, do you have something to add?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for our COVID-19 update and administration, we continue to thank our employees for staying safe, masking up, and also that the people who are coming into our buildings are being compliant, and we're grateful for that as well. We have a lot of visitors every day at our Health and Human Services and Licensing Center, passports, all of our different departments, and we are grateful to the public for cooperating. They've been pretty patient, and we thank them. Thank you to Connie's department. I know that the licensing center is difficult with only being able to see so many people at a time, and sometimes there are a lot of public questions. Please just continue making those appointments, and we are one of the few counties that takes appointments or takes walk-ins in addition to appointments. So that's been a little difficult to navigate, but if you have any questions, let us know. But the biggest update that I have is that federal relief package that was approved, that there will be over $6.9 million coming to the county. And it's going to take a little while to navigate how that is best fit and applied for usage. And it does sound like there's still some snags being worked out with how that can be used. When you hear more to come on this later, when they're giving you 4 categories for money to be used, you want to slow down a little bit. So our budget committee is taking the information that's available now. We're working with the Association of Minnesota Counties to get some direction on some best practices for the application of these funds. And the deadline to spend those funds will be December 31st, 2024. I don't believe we've received any of those funds yet, Colleen, thank you. But we will receive half at a time, so 2 payments, I believe. The funds so far, they're saying they can be used to respond to the public health emergency with respect to COVID-19 or its negative economic impacts. Obviously very broad. 2, respond to workers performing essential work. 3, make necessary investments in water, sewer, or broadband infrastructure. And 4, for the replacement of reduction of revenue under certain circumstances, and that is tied to the public health emergencies. Counties are going to be responsible for the reporting periodically throughout that time frame. We will keep you updated as we have more information and bring decisions to the board. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Commissioners, any questions for Sheila? If not, Auditor Treasurer Connie. Good morning, Connie.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Today I am here for 2 items. The first is to consider approval of $11,026.95, exclusion of parcel 07008-0500 from County Ditch 15A, Viewers Report of Redetermination, as the land is tiled out of CD 15A. 15A revised land benefits would be $1,625,034.42. Road Authority benefits would remain at $205,214.03 for a revised total benefit of $1,830,248.45. Joe Jacobs, the lead viewer of CD 15A redetermination, was contacted by Bennett Luwagi about the CD 15A viewer's report of redetermination of benefits as approved on December 8th, 2020. Mr. Luwagi had contacted Mr. Jacobs and asked to provide a watershed correction as the land had been tiled out of 15A viewer's report of redetermination of benefits. Parcel 07.008.0500 currently has net benefits of the amount that I had stated, the $11,026.95 on CD 15A. And for reference for the board, on a $100,000 expense, this parcel would currently pay $598.88. I do have Mr. Jacobs here if the board has questions for Joe Jacobs.
Board, is there any questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the exclusion of the parcel stated.
I'll move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. B.
Okay, the second item I am here is to consider approval of a $140 rent per acre for 7.5 acres of property located north and west of the Health and Human Services Building on Ford Avenue in Glencoe to Mark Albright of Lester Prairie, effective crop year 2021 with rent due October 31st, 2021. Mr. Albright has been renting property located north and west of the Health and Human Services Building on Ford Avenue in Glencoe for 11 years from the county. He owns and operates the land that is adjacent to the county property. Mark has expressed interest to continue to rent the land in 2021 with the rent agreement effective November 1st, 2020 to October 31st, 2021. The county should be in contact with Mr. Albright next year if and when alternative plans with this land materialize. I should have said this fall. So,
Commissioners, any questions on the rental agreement?
Mr. Chair, move to approve.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
I second it.
Seconded by, motion's been made and second. Is there any more discussion on the rental agreement? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you, Connie.
thank you.
Environmental Services, Mark. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, gentlemen. We have one item in front of you this morning. It is a conditional use permit request submitted by Brian Keenan. He is representing Impact Power Solutions, IPS, out of Roseville, Minnesota. He is requesting a conditional use permit for the essential services of electrical generation through solar panels of a 1 megawatt community solar garden array system to be known as MNCSG 2019-19 LLC on property owned by Thomas Horseman. It would be interconnected to an Xcel Energy substation for the purpose of distribution. The lifetime of the solar garden per the projected project submittal is estimated at approximately 35 years. Soils are gently rolling tillable acreage with soils described as prime farmland per the McLeod County Soil Survey. This prime farmland has a Minnesota Crop Productivity Index CPI rate ranging from 87 to 95, which indicates higher productive potential. The applicant has negotiated an 8-acre land agreement with Mr. Horseman. This property is zoned agricultural. It is located in the northeast quarter of Section 16 in Winstead Township. The Winstead Town Board recommended denial at their February 11th, 2021 meeting for this request. The McLeod County Planning Commission unanimously recommended denial at their February 24th, 2021 meeting due to the following findings of fact, which is number one, prime farmland. With that being said, we did receive 2 other submittals after the Planning Commission meeting. I received an email from Vicki Foshing on Sunday, March 14th with her concerns, and she is not in agreement with this particular proposal. And then also we did receive a letter from Diane and Roger Thompson, also in the area, that are objecting to this request. So with that being said, Brian Keenan is present. There are a number of members from the area that are here as well, so I'll turn this back to the board.
Commissioners?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
What was Winstead's reason for the denial? Do you have that?
I do.
Or is that the same as the planning commission?
It was part of the, it was in the packet, but I can go through that for you
I'm
quickly,
sorry,
Mr.
I missed it. I apologize.
Nope,
I believe it was Prime Pharma.
and I will read the email for the board. And this was an email that we received on Friday, February 12th, 2021. Good morning, Mark. This email is to inform you that Winstead Township reviewed the request by Impact Power Solutions for a conditional use permit for a solar farm on the Tom Horstman property. We have denied the request for the following conditions. Number one, decommissioning bond not at $25,000 or greater. Number two, no information about signage. Requesting signage at minimum 4x6 with the contact information in case of emergency to be visible at the access point. Number three, no landscape plan/provisions in the plan. Township recommended screening on the west, north, east side of the proposed area. Note, there was discussion that there may be a future solar farm on the east side, but since that is not approved or part of this discussion, the east side was requested also. Number four, stray voltage testing before after construction at the expense of the solar farm. 5, educational awareness training to be conducted with the local fire department in case of emergency at the location. 6, all construction material, equipment, and vehicles to be placed parked on construction site only, nothing on the adjacent roadway. 7, any lighting on the property to be directed away from adjacent roadways properties. 8, identification and maintaining for all existing tiling and drainage on the site. 9, request for a post-construction meeting between solar farm, the township, and the county to confirm all CUP items have been covered and are addressed. If you have any questions for us prior to the county meeting, please let us know. Thank you in advance. Tony Hausen, Winstead Township Chairman.
Do you know if they ironed any of those things out between that email and today?
So a lot of those in those requests are things that typically are mitigated via condition, and we do have those performance standards in the ordinance. So with that being said, we offered those standards, those conditions to be placed on the conditional use permit if the county planning commission did approve.
So that's where
because
that's
the
where it stopped.
recommendation for a denial, those did not get brought forward.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? I have none. I entertain a motion. I
Mr.
would-
Chair,
Go ahead.
question for Mr. Keenan, please. Welcome, Mr. Keenan.
Thank you.
Question I have, I read through the proposal, and in the proposal it states that reclamation of the panels themselves had a per panel charge of maybe $3 to $5. Am I correct on that?
As far as the reclamation plan that we have, we plan to reuse the panels first. So the solar panels, there's kind of a standard useful life of about 25 years. At that point, they're still doing 80% of what they were day one. So they're still useful as a solar panel, even 25 years old. And so when we look at decommissioning costs, we're planning on, disassembling the system and putting those into the reuse market and reselling them as, panels themselves. At this point, if you were to, take an old solar system and recycle the panels, it is fairly expensive, per panel. That situation is very active in the solar industry, as far as discussions on what to do with old solar panels. And there's just not a big enough waste stream right now to make a big recycling center that could recycle panels at an effective rate in today's dollars. But if you think of back, like when aluminum cans first came on the market, you couldn't recycle an aluminum can back then. Now, you can't walk through a room without getting a recycling bin within reach. The stream of renewable, of aluminum there is far better now than it was back when cans first came in. And so the stream of, the process for recycling panels will be far better in a decade from now or 2 decades from now than it is today. So I guess our reclamation plan, the first thing we would do is try to reuse them. The second, cycle of that is if they cannot be reused or resold, then we would recycle them.
And today, there's only one place to go with them, is that right? Is Arizona?
There's limited opportunities today that we don't have to go all the way to Arizona, no. I mean, there's a lot more solar down in the southwest, so that's where there's, some of that is being done down there. But, there's panel facilities within the Twin Cities, or electronic recyclers within the Twin Cities that will take them. We do have occasional ones that get damaged, physically damaged by, people throwing balls at them or something like that. So we do have, some even today that do get recycled. Like I said, in the coming years, and MPCA has got some active workshops on this and how to deal with that waste stream. The solar industry itself is actively working on it because the manufacturers don't want to be known as, have some bad blood on their hands with, where are these panels going to go in the future, so.
And Mark, again, remind me again, what do we have for a for cleanup? What's the right word for that?
So I don't want to contradict Brian with that. So part of that is he is correct that there are places in our metro area that take those panels, but the panel itself with the silica to separate those PV cells, they right now are the only places in Arizona that does do that The places around here, what they do is they'll take the housing off the panel, some of the aluminum, the metals, the copper, such things as that. So right now, right now, the National Renewable Energy Lab says between $12 and $20 a panel. We use the high end of that number, $20 a panel, plus construction costs to remove those from the site. So we're approximately $40 a panel. So with this particular project at 3,800 panels, we're looking at $150,000 bond if it were to be considered for approval.
You have a comment on that bond, or?
It's higher than what we've seen in other jurisdictions. I know Mark's based it on, if we were to recycle those panels today, and those are the costs that he's been able to dig up today. But like I stated earlier, I mean, if we had, we've got a 25-year standard term on our lease, so the situation is going to be far better down the road than it is today. And if you look at, other recycling streams, appliance recycling, they don't get 100% of that appliance recycled. They do the high-value parts of it, take that out, recycle those items first. Some of it does end up in the waste stream, just like auto recycling or any other type of recycling. So to get to 100% recycled value is a high bar, but we're willing to work with the board or the county on, what bond is appropriate for that. At the end of the day, that bond is only going to be in place if, the owner of the garden goes out of commission and the landowner is not responsible or is not taking responsibility for it. So it's a pretty slim chance that the county would ever incur any cost in that. And if you were to come up with a situation like that, you would hire a company like IPS to come in and disassemble the system, and we would certainly use some of the, the assets there and recycle them or resell them to mitigate those costs. So,
Commissioners, any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
To Mr. Keenan or Mark, in regards to a bond that's put in place, is there any growth potential of a bond, let's say in a time frame of from today till 35 or 40 years from today?
there are some jurisdictions that look at, they have like a 5-year cycle where they do a new engineering study on what the value is or what the value needs to be, and they readdress that bond issue, on an ongoing basis. I don't know.
Thank you, Commissioner. So yes, we have looked at that in the past. It's just very difficult to determine what the value of the dollar is going to be 35 years from now. So with the cost of inflation, if we do figure 2% annually, that bond should be higher, but we just don't know. So it's something that we do have to continuously work with contractors in the area to determine what the cost would be, what their labor costs would be for their manpower and their machinery to be able to do some of the cleanup on site. And then we would have that issue of the panel. Now, what Mr. Keenan did state is if more panels become prevalent in that recycling market in this country, then yes, reasonably expectation is the cost to recycle that panel will decrease. So right now, it's a moving target.
Thank you, Mark.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
the Planning Commission did take a tour out there, and it's a prime farmland. It's like they carved out 8 acres right out in the middle of a field. So it's kind of interrupting the whole field. So we felt it's prime farmland.
Any more questions or comments?
Mr. Chair?
Can I make a comment towards that? Or,
Go ahead.
you know, we realize that the use of prime farmland is a big concern, and we realize there's been projects that have been before this board and recently that have been denied. And obviously, there's, you know, a number of them that are in appeals right now. The use of prime farmland is something that, you know, we know that's a big concern out here, and we agree that, you know, prime farmland is an asset to maintain. The basis for the prime farmland arguments is based largely on the county's, you know, comprehensive land use plan. That document was created back in 1991, so it's 30 years old now. They didn't have a vision of big-scale solar at that time. When I read through the document, it's pretty clearly written to keep, you know, housing development and commercial buildings down. You know, those are changes where there's a permanent change to the land. If you build a house, you build a farm, you know, a commercial building, it's never going to be anything but that. Our solar is temporary. You know, we put the solar projects up, we put some, you know, design in there, we put some criteria in there, consideration in there to remove that system at its end of its useful life and put that back into farm service. We've got, you know, third-party people that we've worked with, Minnesota Native Landscape out of Otsego that has, you know, we've put together best practices so that the land that we're putting these solar projects on can indeed be reused for farming at the end of the cycle. Other development you have, like I said, a house or a building or something, it's never going to convert back to farming. We've got native seeds that we're planting on the site. We're, you know, doing decompaction measures as part of our decommissioning plan, and so the land will be ready to seed and ready to go, you know, when we're done using it for solar. So I think we can look at it in a little different lens than a traditional development, that, you know, conditional use permit that you might see here. There's a real interim nature to solar that's quite a bit different than a lot of development you see.
Thank you. Mr. Young?
Mr. Chair and Commissioners, the status of the first appeal involving U.S. Solar is that briefs have been submitted to the Court of Appeals. Oral arguments are April 22nd. They're required to issue an opinion within 90 days of that oral argument.
Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring a few points up. So we've been seeing a lot of these. The last couple we have denied. And looking at the aerial, you know, this site seems to be somewhat off to the side at least, but of the main part of the field. However, you know, the topic of prime farmland, absolutely, it's very important. According to the state of Minnesota, McLeod County generates nearly $250 million of ag products every year. However, this is, you know, it's not permanent. We're not putting a parking lot on top of it. We're not putting a building on top of it, and that's somewhat been mentioned. There is a possibility that this land could come into production again someday, and if we're going to use prime farmland as the big banner every time one of these comes up, then we should be using that for everything that we see that removes farmland. Building a house, building anytime we see any land excavated in an open field, we should be saying no at the same time. So there has to be some other elements that we can focus on. Besides that is what I'm after. I think there's a lot of people here in the room that came here to be a part of that discussion today, and I'd like to hear what they would have to say. Again, the farmland is extremely important. However, there has to be other things in play here. Again, if we're going to continue using that over and over again, then let's use it every time a land use comes up to actually mean something with these solar discussions. So I'd like to hear what some of the residents have to say.
It's not an open hearing, but we could entertain. Is there someone in the audience that would like to speak, either pro or con? Go ahead. State your name and where you live.
Doug Flashing, I live, own land in section 16 right next to Tom Horseman. And I agree with him that housing too, if they want to put on prime farmland, it should be, talked about too. But this is, like when they say prime farmland, he says 25, 35 years, you want to take it out. There's no guarantee that land's going to be as good as what it was before. And even when you put 10 acres in, it's not 10 acres, it's for 25 years, that's 250 acres. So every 10 acres, for 25 years, you're taking 250 acres out for those 25 years. You put up all the ones that they've been putting, that adds up to a lot of acres. Just 4 10-acre ones, they'll even equal 1,000 acres in 25 years you're taking out of production. Now, prime farmland is, like they say, land, they're not making it. We need food. You can put these solar panels somewhere else. The reason they put on this field is because there's a line running next to it. That's the only reason they're taking it. And it's cheaper for them to hook up. So it benefits them. It benefits nobody in the area. All the people in the area are opposed to it. And if you tell them, well, we're all opposed to it, they won't care. They still want to build it because it's money for them. And there's stray voltage and radiation and things like that concerns that come off of these that people in the area have to deal with, that they don't have to deal with. So this is just, like I say, it's solar, it's fine. You can find somewhere to put it. You can put it on top of buildings. You can put it on parking lots. I've seen people put it on parking lots. And it doesn't have to be prime farmland. The only reason they're going for this, because like I said, there's a line right there. And like 3 months ago, a different company wanted to put one there, and that was denied for the same reason. Now, Brian was asked at the planning committee when Tom Horseman, asked him, he said 8 months ago. Now, because my land is next to it, I get a lot of these brochures too, and I probably got one from Brian too. I can't tell you. I just throw them away. I don't really. So he decided to take 2 at one time. He's going to put one on the east side, one on the west side. The one on the east side got denied 3 months ago, and now they're going with this one. And another thing is, they say when they put these up that you can't park on the roads. All construction's got to be on the site, and they don't drive across farmland. Well, on Tom Horseman's, on County Road 5, there is no approach to get onto Tom Horseman's land. So he would have to go on the east side on the gravel and drive all the way across the field to get there. Or they'd have to put an approach on 5, because there is no approach to get onto his land on 5. So I don't know he said there was, but there isn't. And I know this because Tom Horseman brought that land. I live down the road. I drive by all my life in that field. Tom Horseman brought that land from my brother, who bought it from my father, so I'm familiar with the land. And there's no approach to even get on there. So, but I said it again, prime farmland is the number. They're not making land. You can put solar somewhere else. Solar's nice, but we've had electricity before we went to solar. It helps, use the sun. But there's other places you can put it, and you just can't keep doing prime farmland over and over again, because we need to feed people. And you can ask farmers, when they plant a field, just because you plant it doesn't mean you're going to get a crop. Mother Nature has a lot to say about that. So you start shrinking that base, then you start shrinking, the acres you can put them in. So we need to keep the prime farmland for farming. And, there's other places they could put it. It might cost them more money. But like I said, the reason they want this one is because there's a hookup, and it's cheaper for them to hook it up. It has nothing to do, it doesn't benefit anybody in the area but them. So.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Brian, I guess that's been one of my issues as well. Do you want to rebut the part about the location has been an issue with me too. I think some of this controversy would, in my opinion, obviously, but if the trunk lines were more accessible to other kinds of land, we wouldn't be running into these situations.
There is there's a limited area where we can build these gardens. This is a Excel map of, McLeod County, and you'll see, from Winsted down to Plato and over, there's on the very eastern edge and very southern edge is the only place where Excel service is. So that's the only place we can build these gardens right now. If you look at this map, you'll see all the red in here. That's where the lines are full. We can't build there according to Excel engineers. So there's one little pocket in Plato, which is going to could accept one more project. And there's one, this parts of this project area right in Winsted. The rest of this, within the city of Winsted is right, and there's no other area to build them. As far as, it doesn't affect or doesn't benefit anybody, but us, is the landowner is asking us to build this. We're working with him as a partner on this. If the goal of preserving farmland, and in the land use plan, it specifically states that the agriculture economy is important. So it's the dollars that they're generated through farming. Solar does it, 4 or 5 times better. We're keeping farm families alive with a financial windfall for them for the life of this project, and then they return it to farming. If somebody were to want to put in some kind of hybrid crop that earned more money than standard corn and beans, there'd be no problem with that. And what we're doing is an incredibly small amount of the land available. You look at this was a slideshow I was at not too long ago. There's a team called CERTS, Clean Energy Resource Team. It's a state and U of M partnership. And so they've done some analysis, and over the entire state of Minnesota, there's 17 million acres of prime farmland. 258,000 of that is currently tied up in CRP. So we've taken that prime farmland and set it aside in CRP. There's also a state goal of 10 gigawatts of solar. We're at 1 gigawatt installed right now, so we've got a ways to grow. If we go to that entire 10 gigawatt thing, it's only 0.4% of the prime farmland out there, of the farmland out there. It's an incredibly, incredibly small footprint in this. There's other locations that we could put it, but it's not economical to do that. When we can't, because of the rules of the program, we have to be within the Excel service area.
When you say rules, I'm a little, is it rules because it's not efficient to bring a trunk line into some less wanted land or less?
The Minnesota Public Utilities has cut up the state into different service territories, and so Excel is assigned a certain service territory, and that's the only place we can build these gardens right now. They have to be entirely located within them. We cannot step a foot out of that. And so just down the road from this, where they're served by the local co-op, we can't build one there. We can't run a trunk line out to it, even if we were able to make that investment, we couldn't do that because of the rules of the Public Utilities Commission, how electric utilities are administered across the state of Minnesota.
Well, thanks, Brian. Is there anyone else in the public that'd like to address the board?
I've got one more comment on prime farmland. What we're looking at is a fair use of, a fair allowance of that. There's been other situations, and immediately near this property is the Woodstock Fairgrounds. Okay, everyone's been to Woodstock or knows about it. This is what happens to the land in the middle of the summer. When these campers all leave, those tracks are still there. This land is still compacted down. There's still roads that are in there. There's still power lines and things. That land's not being farmed the way it was. It's not prime farmland anymore. There's 275 acres right in Winsted, right immediately adjacent to the site we're looking at, that are used like that every single summer, and that's been allowed. Just down the road is a 9.5 acre plot that holds a brand new county garage. It's on the highway corridor, so it's been allowed, but it's 9.5 acres of absolute prime farmland. It's cut in the middle, right in the corner of the field. The CPI on that field is 95, which is the crop productivity index. The one we're looking at is 89, so it's even higher value land. And the county itself has said it was fine to take that out of prime farmland. And that's a permanent change. And the garage itself is fine. They've got piles of old concrete culverts and equipment and, rows of plows and things. It's not a very sightly thing. It's right out, right on Highway 7, I think. So there's been other instances allowed and in very recent times of, permanent changes to prime farmland. We're asking for a temporary one, and we're taking what we think are steps to be good stewards of that land and truly return it to, agricultural use at the end.
Any more questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, and Mr. Keenan, when the power is generated, where's the power used?
The community solar program is kind of unique in that all of the power is going direct to the Excel grid. And so it's the program was developed kind of as a three-legged stool between the solar garden owners like us, the Public Utilities Commission obviously represents it, and then Excel. But the idea is that all the power goes to Excel, so they get all the benefits of it. They have a mandate to have so much of their generation by solar, so this counts towards that mandate. They don't put their own capital in it, so it saves their ratepayers money. They also get the power in the heat of summer. In our solar system, the peak of production is May to September, and it kind of feathers off in the other months. So in June and July, when everybody's got their air conditioners on and demand is the absolute highest, our solar is doing its maximum production at that point in time. So Excel doesn't have to start their secondary power plants. They're what they call peaker plants. And these are generally diesel-fired. They're more expensive, they're more polluting than their other sources of generation. These are the non-base loads is what we're replacing with solar in this program. So.
Anything more?
The proposed construction, what would you have for fencing and screening?
We actually didn't put a landscape plan together as part of our initial set. We would include that with our civil set, with our construction plans, and we've gotten some direction, from the meetings we've been in. We would work with the county on what appropriate screening is. Generally, we're using, some kind of coniferous tree, Black Hill spruce, and doing rows of them around it to block the view. And we've got a fence for safety as well. We do have an approach that's part of our plan that would come off of 230th. There would be a gravel road that we would build, and that would be approved by the county highway and, get an approved access there as well, so.
I have to put in a couple comments here. I mean, this is an ag county, and we've been standing on prime farmland. That's how we've been basing the denials we've got, that we've had before us before. Some are right now in litigation. So for me to move away from that, I mean, we can, I'm for all kinds of energy, but in this case, the prime farmland trumps it, so I actually would make a motion to deny permit 2103
I second it.
Motion's been made and seconded to deny permit 21-03. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of denying the permit, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Division, roll call. Commissioner Luthens? Yes or no?
Deny it.
Yes.
Commissioner Wright?
No.
Yeah. Commissioner Nagel?
Yes.
Aye. For denial.
And I'm an aye, so it's 4 ayes and 1 nay, so it fails.
And the reason is that it's prime
Prime
farmland.
farmland, we've been standing on that. I mean, I don't, just to finish it up, I mean, we've been standing on that, and I don't know how we could stray away from that right now. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Public Works, John?
Good morning. First item is to consider authorizing us to proceed with letting dates for a couple more projects, one being County Project 21-00001 and County Project 21-00002, which are our countywide pavement marking and countywide seal coating, and then also State Project 43-070015. That is a Federal Highway Safety Improvement Program, or HSIP, striping project, which we've done in the past. So we'd like to be able to go out to get those started advertising as well.
Mr. Chair, are you looking for action on A, B, and C as a one motion or individually?
You took that
You've
word.
taken them together in the past.
Okay, I'll take them.
And then
That's
I'll
what
move.
my question was as well, so I'll entertain a motion to take A, B, and C.
I move to approve A, B, and C.
Motion's been made. Is there a second to approve? Second by Commissioner Nagel. Is there any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item B is to consider a quote from Lukey Contracting out of Hutchinson for the demolition of the Kitty Castle Foundation. He quoted us a price of $4,500. We did receive 3 other quotes ranging from $9,617 up to $12,950. Similar to the quote you approved last board meeting from Otting House Movers to move the house, this would be the quote to remove the foundation and backfill it with the stuff. So the previous quote was, last board action was $5,500, this one's $4,500, so we will net approximately $1,000 with that house project.
John, I think you just answered it. We're gonna backfill it, and then does he seed it, or where is that all? What's included in this 4,500?
Yep, to remove the foundation, to backfill it with material on site, and then add some topsoil, and then we will hydro seed it with our forces.
Oh, very good. All right, Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. Second. Motion's been made and seconded for the funding of filling in the basement from the home. Is there any more discussion?
Just real quick, John, there's a water line that goes through that has to get dealt with. Is that within this project, or is that going to be a separate?
We're coordinating with Ludke on that, with the utilities on that, what we need to do to, use it for future in that area and so forth. Yep.
There's no.
Same with power or gas.
You can stub it there and leave it in case we ever need it, or they
Move
can.
it back farther, yeah, we're gonna, yep.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C is to consider a letter of support for US 212 Rural Freight Mobility and Safety Project. And this is basically to one of the projects on 212 east of Norwood, or the gap projects they call it. There's 2 gaps remaining with that are not 4-lane sections. This letter would, for consideration for federal financial assistance under US DOT's discretionary grant. So basically a letter of support for Carver County for the US DOT application when they apply for discretionary funds. Carver's been working diligently with MnDOT and our Southwest Corridor Transportation Coalition, or the 212 Coalition, we used to call it, to address the 5-mile gap between Norwood and Cologne. Project's $68 million currently, and there is a $46,800,000 gap. So Carver has been applying for, like I mentioned, the DOT discretionary grant to help fund the remaining. As in the past, they're asking for letters of support from cities and counties and businesses up and down the corridor. And they work closely with the Alliance, Transportation Alliance for that, and lobbying, and they've been making pretty good headway on that, but they are short for that second phase.
It's an important, I mean, I sit on a Transportation Alliance, and we actually belong to it, and it's, these letters are meaningful. I mean, they need to get to our congressmen, and they can't be outdated. We have new congressmen and senators, different budgets. So, and I for one, I don't like to see, I don't even want to take a breath. We need to keep on going. They've got some plans on the Bongards Corner to fit in with these plans, so it's important.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
And I agree with everything you said. We've also learned that, really for us to get the ear of our senators and representatives, we need to be there and in their office. Now, that we can't do that right now. So hopefully that changes soon, and we can continue to invest in that. But I would, based on that, I think we would do this in addition to it, but it's a good step that we are continuing to move forward. So I would move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve the letter.
Second?
Second, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion?
John, how far west do you go for stuff like this?
How far west for, this coalition goes all the way out to Montevideo or Granite Falls. There's members up and down the corridor that regularly attend the, monthly meetings of the coalition.
The mayor of Granite Falls.
Very strong, Mayor
Yeah.
of Granite Falls, very strong supporter. Actually, get it out into South Dakota, you'll find support.
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, John.
Last item is to consider approval of Appendix C, County Provision of Agricultural Inspection to the McLeod County Soil and Water Conservation District and the McLeod County Joint Powers Agreement previously approved June 20th of 2017. At that time, that joint powers was primarily to work with soil and water for the ditch system. We'd like to now work with them for the agricultural inspection services. As you know, we had a longtime employee retire who was doing that service for us, and it makes sense to have soil and water do that. We've talked with Ryan, and Ryan's talked with his board, and they are open to that agreement with soil and water. So a couple items here. One would be to approve Appendix C, and then another next item would be to consider appointing Ryan Freitag as the county ag inspector, and in addition to that, appoint Adam Lesky as the assistant agricultural inspector.
Is that three? Is
I
that
think
three?
it's two.
Okay, so we can do Ryan and Adam at the same time?
I believe so.
Okay, and just my comment, I attend, it's been working well. I mean, I don't know how long now it's been, a couple of years since we did the joint powers with SWCD. I attend the board meetings. The board on the SWCD is also elected. So, I mean, and we formed a really a good partnership, and at least up to this point, it's been working well. It's a good fit.
And Ryan's here. I don't know if he has anything to add to that, but
Ryan, come on up. You can't hide back there. Or you can, but it won't do you any good. No, it has honestly worked well. They've got we've got more feet on the ground now than we've had as long as I've been on the board. Any comments, Ryan?
Not really. I guess it's been a pleasure working with the board and the staff, and I think it's been a good team. So look forward to working, I guess, more fully with you.
So just so I have the chain of events down, you've discussed it with your board, and then they indicated they'd approve it upon, it's kind of a chicken or an egg thing there, right?
Yeah. So we met with our board in March, discussed it, and, planned on moving forward. We actually just met yesterday in workshop, and now we basically, same thing, move forward, and we didn't feel right approving it prior to the county board actually offering it to us. So if the board approves it today, we will approve it on our April 5th SWCD board meeting.
All right, John, one more time, just tee this up for me. Just that first paragraph.
the first part would be to consider approval of Appendix C for that previously approved joint powers agreement.
All right, so moved.
Motion's been made to approve Appendix C. Is there a second?
Second?
The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Would it be fair to say, Ryan, that again, the board is elected, pretty much covers the county. I would say the interests that you hear today and what you hear at your SWCD board are really mostly alike, aren't they? I mean,
Yes, they are.
We're really tandemed on it.
So yes, I will have 10 bosses instead of 5.
All right, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then the second one would be to consider appointment of Ryan as the county agricultural inspector and Adam Lesky as the assistant agricultural inspector.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve Ryan and Adam as agriculture inspectors. Is there any discussion on that? And I will also comment, they're out on the road. We had conversations at these meetings, and they're out on the road. They can be checking ditches and looking for different things at the same time. So efficiently wise and knowing the area, it really is a good fit. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Employee relations, Hannah?
Good morning. I have a few items today. Item A, consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignment for the Environmental Services Environmentalist 1 position, graded a 160. This is a revised role, which was formerly the Household Hazardous Waste Technician, that includes more responsibilities regarding feedlots, subsurface sewage treatment systems program, SSTS, and the ability to assist the current Environmentalist 2.
Any questions for Hannah?
Mr. Chair and Hannah, is this a position that's graded at a lower level than presently?
This position was graded lower and has been brought up to a 160. So previously, it did not include the items that I just mentioned there. So right now, we have an Environmentalist 1 position. We did not have a 2, and so this was to fall in line with the other positions that have been more recently created. So it's kind of updating the position and making sure to include those extra pieces.
Thank you.
Any more questions? I entertain a motion to approve the position.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. B.
Consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignment for the Public Works, Parks and Recreation Technical Specialist, grade 130. This is a revised role, and I'm going to make one edit. This was correct in the packet, but here it says formerly Technical Specialist 2. That should read formerly Technical Specialist 3 due to the reorganization of the Parks and Recreation team.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Park and Recreation, addition to the Park and Recreation team. Any more discussion?
It's not an addition, correct? It's just a,
Yep.
it's just
a new job description, different title that falls in line with the reorganization that we've just done with Parks and Recreation. So not a new role.
I don't want to put John on the spot, but how does it fit into your team? I mean, it's just a good fit.
Similar number of full-time positions, just giving them the description and tweaking a couple duties.
Thank you.
Same, yep.
Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. C.
Consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade increase for the Health and Human Services Eligibility Worker position, which is we graded a 150. This position is currently a grade 140. The evaluation of the position was requested by the Health and Human Services Director due to retention and recruitment issues for this position.
Hannah, can you go over, since we're doing a lot of these, just
Yep.
briefly the re-evaluation process?
Yeah.
How that works?
Yep, definitely. So we've not seen a lot of these over this last year. So thanks for asking. Basically how this works is if there is a new position or a new job description, that will always go to the Evaluation Committee. The Personnel Committee will be aware of that going to evaluation. Evaluation Committee will review. There's a small team that has been assigned on that committee. And then that, after evaluation and a grade has been determined, that is then brought back to the Personnel Committee, looking for their recommendation to then be brought to the board. So today, these items, some of them, just like the prior example of the Parks and Recreation Tech Specialist, that was due to a change in title. And there was some new items in that job description, so that's why that was evaluated. Item C is a little different. This is an existing position that we've had a hard time recruiting people for the position, and this was requested by the director to be relooked at And that's why that was brought today. So again, there's to the evaluation committee, then to personnel, and then to the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
how many workers does this item C affect? Do you know roughly?
That's a good question. Thank you. We're looking that up.
Okay. And then to go along with that, while that's coming, I mean, like you mentioned, the other ones were, reorganization or restructuring the spot. With this one, it's not that way. Is there a ripple effect that we'll see from supervisors or others in the department once we lift this grade that we'll have to deal with?
That's a good question. I think, we don't see this very often. I think I don't know if Sheila, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
Thank you, Hannah. So the eligibility worker position has been one that it's been felt there's a lot of inequity in it for some time. We lose the majority of our eligibility workers to other counties because of the flexibility and the wage differences, if they could easily go a little bit further or work from home. We take all of that into consideration when we do a regrading effort. It did come out at a grade 150 with our measurement system. So we believe that it's fit. The job description was adjusted for the duties that are involved in this role. I honestly think that when it was measured in the Keystone grade study that it was maybe not adequately described and summarized, and that there are some duties in this job that are a little bit higher level than what were recognized. So with being on the evaluation committee and the personnel committee, I see it's fit for the recommendation to increase this role and reflect what it really is, and that we do have a very high importance of keeping the people in these positions. I don't think it took the pandemic to recognize that. We knew that for some time now, and this is the right move in my opinion. I hope that answers your question. You may want to go up to the podium if you want to speak, Barrett.
It's 13 employees, but just to address your question, Paul, about will it affect other supervisors? I think other supervisors in the unit see that this unit has struggled with retention and recruitment, and so I feel that they'll be supportive, because when another unit within the department is struggling, we all kind of feel that it may have to pick up some of the slack. So I think they would be supportive of that. And to Sheila's point, it's been something that's been in the works since before I started, since the pandemic, wanting to regrade this position.
Okay, 13 spots.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Obviously I serve on the personnel committee, and I see these things probably a little bit more detailed than others, or at least get them explained to me. The big thing for me is, because of the budgeting purposes, we want to get back to we've kind of set a hard line on, if you're requesting new employees, kind of that once a year type of thing, so we can evaluate it with the budget process. And maybe this is something we need to add to the personnel committee and bring back to the board. Is this something we want to do, that once? I realize this has been in the works, that it's been something that's been prolonged and re-looked at and things like that. So I can appreciate that, but, we just constantly doing it is not what we want to see. We want to see a little bit more systematic approach to it, that once a year, twice a year type of thing. But we can work that out in the personnel committee to be a little more organized when it comes here. So we're taking a look at that. With that, on the other side of the coin, we have looked at this position a lot. There has been some retention issues. I think the due diligence was done in this, and I agree with it. And again, I was part of it throughout. So I would move to approve the regrade.
Motion's been made to approve the eligibility worker. Is there a second? Is there a second? I'll second it, and I will comment as well on discussion is, I always use the old guy in a bunch as a rationalization, but I do trust our staff. I think that's what we've been pushing for with efficiencies. And I don't like to use the word leniency, but I've let some of my things go because retention, it really does get old to keep. I mean, I'm not specific to every department, but it's old to get an email, we lost this person, we lost this person, we got to re-switch this one. So I hope our plan, and I think we've done a good job up to this point with our administration, and I I also would go along with it, with that trust to backfilling some of our jobs and trying to hold our people here. That's all I have to say. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the eligibility worker, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I'm just going to add on that, I would like to see a budget impact with this, and I'm going to be hopeful that this doesn't start a Me Too movement through some other areas, so.
And I would agree with that as well. I'm just hoping, again, I trust the people that we've put good people in place, and I trust them, and I hope that it works. Proof's going to be in the pudding, so here we go.
Thank you. Item D, consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignment for the Public Works Extension Technical Specialist, grade 130. This is a revised role, which was formerly Technical Specialist 1, due to the reorganization of the Parks and Recreation team. So again, this is an existing position that is just a different title, new job description.
So moved.
Motion's been made to approve the extension technical specialist. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion or any discussion? I'm in favor of it as well. I mean, is there, but when we redo these and do the grades, it's also retention reasoning, isn't it? I mean, cutting through the chase, for me at least, I mean, that's how we're trying to keep our good people here and get good services. Is that the right way to look at it?
I think that's definitely a piece of it, for sure. And again, this is a new title, so we needed to make sure it was being graded appropriately.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. E.
Item E, consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignments for the Social Services Supervisor. This is specifying in Child Protection Specialist, Child Welfare Case Management and Permanency, which is a grade 200. This is a new job description due to the addition of a Social Services Supervisor.
Which we've already approved.
Which was approved. Yep, correct. So after the approval, both items E and F are based on rewriting the job description, because prior to this was one role.
Move to approve.
Motion is made to approve. Is there a second? I'll second it. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving it, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. F.
Item F, consider approval of the Evaluation Committee and Personnel Committee recommended grade assignments for the Social Service Supervisor, specifying in Child Protection Specialist, Child Welfare Intake, Investigations, Assessments, CFC and FCC licensing, grade 200. Again, this is a new job description due to the addition of the Social Services Supervisor.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Chip.
I will just add that these gradings are in the same line as our other Health and Human Services supervisors. And again, they were already approved position ads.
Commissioners?
I'll move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve our Child Protection Specialist. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Young?
Do you mind if I stay here?
You can surely stay right there. and you look
This is for your approval. It's an agreement to mediate. We're required as a part of the civil action in the district court regarding the condemnation of County Road or CSA 15. We're required to engage in mediation, and this is the agreement that the mediator wishes us to execute. So I would recommend that you approve it.
Commissioners, you.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the agreement to mitigate. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. County administration, review of our calendars. Darrell.
Good morning, everybody. Go back to March 4th. At a Prime West Health meeting, it was a Zoom meeting. In the afternoon, we had a Pack for Family meeting, with a Zoom meeting also. And the following week, on the 9th, was a Township Day. I attended 3 township meetings, Sumter, Hassan Valley, and Rich Valley. They're all represented with, all fire departments were there, talking to them about their needs that they needed there in the fire departments. On the 10th, another Pack for Families annual meeting and a meeting in the morning. And then on Thursday on the 11th, CHB meeting at the Hutch Building. And then on Friday, AMHC was a Zoom meeting also. Thank you.
Okay, on the 4th, we had our economic development meeting here in this room. It was our community stakeholders meeting where Janet Addy and her associates shared their plans that they had, and that was probably the first big wide open kickoff of what will be our McLeod County economic development plan. Department head after that, or later, and that focused a lot on some goal-setting initiatives through our department heads. The township meetings, Round Grove was not accepting visitors, just on the side of caution for this year, so I did attend Lynn, Collins, and Penn. A lot of their questions were around county ditch projects and potential road work. It was pretty well the bulk of it. Budget meeting, a few days after that, we had talked about, and Sheila did talk about the federal relief package, and at this point, it is so big and so many moving parts, like she'd mentioned, we decided to just kind of let some of those things evolve before we start trying to pick it apart. And we also reviewed an abatement policy there as well. On Friday, I was part of the interview team for the Parks and Rec manager. And here today.
Thank you. I also attended our workshop after our meeting on the 2nd. On the 3rd, I had North Fork Crow, one watershed, one plan. It's been a while since we had a meeting. We're still working on implementation of some projects. Who actually our manager is going to be right now. We've got Wright County running it. We have some structural issues on who actually serves on these policy committees. So we're debating back and forth. My particular issue would be to relinquish elected officers from that policy committee, and that's a little bit of a stickler, but the elected officials, lack of a better word, are a conduit to the money, so I believe they should at least stay so we know what's going on. On the 4th, economic development, we had a stakeholders meeting. I was a little late, but it was well attended, and I learn something every time I go to hold up the goals of how we're trying to structure an economic development. On the 5th, I had ATP District 8, which is our highway, or the state highway systems and their projects. And I know there was more than this, but I know we discussed, I think John got some striping money. I believe I'm right on that, but we talked about the J-turns here on County Road 1, roundabouts at Brownton, 212 and 15, 212 at Morningside, and the work here on Chandler. So at least I feel McLeod County has their eye for some reason, or we're just lucky we're getting some projects there, whether you like them or don't like them. Their safety, I mean, it's hard to argue with the safety records on these roundabouts and J-turns. On the 9th, I had a department head meeting, basically discussion on goals. It's a issue that Commissioner Wright has talked to, and I like it, or talked about, and I like it very well. They had some goals there, and they're achievable goals, and we'll go from there. On the 9th, I also had township meetings. I had Glencoe Township and Helen Township, and Helen Townships were the biggest conversation there was solar. And then we have a county road, Diamond Avenue 73-2. I'm sorry right now, but whatever it is there, that's an issue, and we're going to talk about it in an upcoming workshop. We had our test meeting, or meeting here for the first meeting at the boardroom. Everything so far must have worked because it seems to be working. And right after that, we had a meeting. Sheila and I had a meeting with City Administrator Mark Larson, and it was supposed to be the mayor. The mayor was tied up somewhere else, but we gave him the best we could of a tour of our new building, and he liked it. He thought it was a great building. Agenda review on the 11th. And then yesterday I had MRC policy meeting. Obviously, we discussed policies. I actually enclosed them in the packets because it's a couple of pages. It's what we do on MRC. So I'm just trying to share some of the stuff that we belong to. I mean, with open meetings and different things, it's hard to get it out to all the commissioners and even to the public because we belong to an organization that's a lot of like-minded counties, and obviously your power's in strength, especially with legislators. I did get to meet a legislator there through a new freshman legislator. He's out of the north, Roseau area. His name is John Burkle. He represents District 1. He's a turkey farmer. I think he's about third or fourth generation turkey farmer. They actually process up there. He's very, very good on his ag issues. He's learning, well, like you said, like we all say, drinking out of a fire hose and some of the other issues, but a very knowledgeable person from what I could gather. And on the 15th, which was yesterday, I had interviews with for Trailblazer on interviewing a new law firm to represent Trailblazer. And that brings us to today. Thanks. Joel?
You know, Mr. Chair, the technology didn't work, so it didn't record, so we have to do the whole meeting over again. I'm just kidding. I'll make it quick. Parks and Rec, first interviews, I helped finish those up right after the board meeting last 2 weeks ago. Thank you to all the staff that set those up and to the candidates. They all did a really good job, and we'll have more to announce here in the next few weeks. So I had some NACO phone calls scheduled, budget committee meeting, which was covered, annual township meetings. I obviously represent Hutchinson and Tacoma. The big topic for that was, we talked a lot about the burning permits, and both those townships were in favor of, in the near future, coming to the county with some potential changes to how the burning permit process works. Some administrative meetings, and both here and at the solid waste building, working with planning and zoning and health and human services to share some of that space. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. Nathan?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, since our last board meeting, like you stated, we all attended a workshop following the meeting. In the afternoon of the 2nd, I also met with County Attorney's Office to discuss court action that's coming up on behalf of the county. And into the following week, on the 9th of March, I attended my 3 townships annual meeting, Bergen, Winsted, and Hale. Most of the questions fielded from those meetings were concerned with road and bridge, a little bit of solar, a little bit of ditch. There was a discussion of the burning permits and how we move forward with that. I want to thank Commissioner Wright for putting together an informational handout that we could share with our township residents. Much appreciated, Commissioner Wright.
You bet.
And on the 11th, CHS meeting done by Zoom. On the 12th, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training meeting done by Zoom as well. And then I'll finish with an email that I received, and I'd like to read it to you. It's a short email. Commissioner Schmaltz, and I'll address this to the rest of the board as well. Winsted Lake Watershed Association recently received a sizable donation from McLeod County, which will be used for lake aeration, public education, and continued efforts to improve lake quality. I would like to express the sincere gratitude of the WLWA organization, that's the Winsted Lake Watershed Association organization, to the McLeod County Commissioners for this generosity and recognition of its continued mission. Thank you, Evelyn Fowler, Secretary, Winsted Lake Watershed Association. So I just wanted to share that with our commissioners, and they thank us as well.
Very nice.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
I'd like to extend that thank you out to Mark, because I know Mark worked on that. So I appreciate that, and I also thank you for that handout. That was very beneficial for
Good.
the meeting as well.
Good, it came in handy. So, that's the second time that we've been thanked for what we've done here today. That's we're doing really well. So,
Sheila?
Don't jinx it.
I know. I should have just
Nothing
not
to
said
add,
anything.
Mr. Chair. I'll go ahead.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, just quick note, we didn't note this earlier, but you see that the 5 commissioners are seated at the front of the room, and are probably thinking, why didn't they move everyone else up there in the plans? We did, but then, of course, the pandemic. And so we have them spread out so that they can be 6 feet apart, have their masks on, and stay safe. But usually you would see our county attorney, Mike Young, up there, myself, and then our administrative assistant, Liz Danielson, and then also a spot for staff to present from the front of the room. But with that said, County Administration, item A. Can you hear me okay? I'm probably the shortest person using this microphone in the room, so, okay. I wanted to come up here because I was sitting behind the board, and you were all having to probably turn around to see me. Consider approval to close the McLeod Sibley Trailblazer Health Insurance Self-Funded Account. As you know, before we were in a joint effort, or a joint powers group with McLeod, Sibley, and Trailblazer. That is now just McLeod and Sibley, so we have to change that fund. The funds available in the account as of February 28th were $115,392.47. The distribution of these funds is based on percentages. So McLeod County will receive 52.93%, which would be approximately $61,077.23. upon cash out of that account. If any unresolved 2019 insurance claims would be submitted after closing this account, that's where it would come to you again, because the bills would need to be paid with using that percentage by McLeod, Sibley, and Trailblazer Transit. Also, any remaining interest as of the closing date would be distributed at the same percentages listed. One thing to think about is the reason that we have to put that on there, that if an unresolved claim comes around, that you could be responsible for it. I believe the VA can submit claims for up to 7 years. We don't expect that anything's outstanding. We reached out to all of our employees before we switched over to our new SWWC plan in 2020. no inquiries from any employees, nothing that they said that was unresolved or unclaimed, but it is just a note of caution in the case that that would come up in the future. So,
Sheila,
yeah,
and I just want to reiterate, we looked into this best we could, and we don't see any claims hanging out there, but there is that unpredictability of the billing process and where that's at, so. And Colleen, right, it makes sense to close it now, right? All right, I would move to approve.
Motion's been made to close our account insurance, self-insurance fund with Trailblazer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smalls, with the total would be $61,077.23. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
thank you. Item B, consider approval of temporary construction easement agreement between McLeod County and the City of Glencoe to grant a temporary construction easement running over, under, along, and across property owned by McLeod County to expire December 1, 2021.
Any questions from the board? I mean, is everybody aware they're straightening out, what is it, 10th Street? So there's a little, if you stand by our courthouse, you'll see a little jog. So they're straightening that out, and I don't know how else to say it. Ours is,
So if you're heading west on 10th Street and you look towards the jail parking lot, or where the sheriff's office parks, and it goes in, almost like a turn lane, but it's really not, that'll come out. So it won't be, it will be to our benefit in that area. You see that there's a workshop agenda item as well to address our exit entrance out onto that road, which has already been a problem. But this change here should not be any detriment to the county.
Mr. Young looked at it, and it's all boilerplate stuff, so it's all good.
Move to approve.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item C, consider renaming the former county boardroom at the McLeod County Courthouse to McLeod County Emergency Operations Center, EOC. This room will still be used in the same capacity that it is today. It's been used as the Emergency Operations Center for a number of years. However, with it no longer being your formal boardroom, we thought appropriate to request a name change to the room, and believe that this would be fit.
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Motion's been made to approve. Is there a second? Second. Motion's been made and second. Is there any discussion? Another acronym. Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Item D, notification of Minnesota Rural Counties MRC 2021 legislative priorities. The MRC 2021 legislative priorities are detailed in the board packet. Item E, notification of MRC position on Minnesota Clean Car Policy. MRC supports legislative review of any and all issues of consequence that would bring harm to the culture and/or economy of rural counties. Further, MRC opposes the attempt by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, MPCA, to adopt the Minnesota Clean Car Rule without consulting the legislature, and encourages the Waltz administration to withdraw the proposed rule and submit the issue to legislative review. Item F.
Sheila?
Yes?
Is there any questions from the commissioners on that? It was my idea to put it in here rather than me to try to recite it verbatim, but the comment period for that ended yesterday at 4:30 and went on. It's going into the governor and to the MPCA, so we'll see what comes out of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Item F, notification of McLeod Drainage Authority public hearing on the engineer's repair report on County Ditch 63. The Drainage Authority will hear public comments on the acceptance of the repair report at the McLeod County Government Center, Martin McLeod Boardroom, which is here, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on Wednesday, March 17, 2020 at 1:00 p.m. G, Notification of Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority Informational Landowners Meeting on the redetermination of benefits of joint ditches JD 18 Sibley McLeod, JD 17 McLeod Sibley, JD 32 Sibley McLeod, and Sibley County Ditch 65. There will be a presentation by the viewers in the Sibley County Courthouse, Basement Meeting Room, 400 Court Avenue, Gaylord, Minnesota, on Thursday, March 18, 2021 at 9:00 a.m. Item H, notification of highway workshop to be held March 19, 2021 at 8:30 a.m. at the Fairgrounds Commercial Building Meeting Room, 840 Century Avenue Southwest, Hutchinson, Minnesota. Item I, notification of Sibley Renville McLeod Joint Drainage Authority public hearing on the redetermination of benefits of joint ditch JD 24 Sibley Renville McLeod. The Joint Drainage Authority will hear public comments on the acceptance of the redetermination of benefits in the Sibley County Courthouse, Basement Meeting Room, 400 Court Avenue, Gaylord, Minnesota, on Friday, March 26, 2021 at 10:00 a.m. Item J, notification of McLeod Drainage Authority public meeting on repair projects on County Ditch 64. The Drainage Authority will hear public comment on the current ditch status and needed repairs at the McLeod County Government Center here in the Martin McLeod Boardroom, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota, on Monday, March 29, 2021 at 1:00 p.m. Item K, notification of Sibley McLeod Joint Drainage Authority public hearing on the redetermination of benefits of joint ditches 18 Sibley McLeod, joint ditch 17 McLeod Sibley, joint ditch 32 Sibley McLeod, and Sibley County Ditch 65. The Joint Drainage Authority will hear public comment on the acceptance of the redetermination of benefits and discuss and consider refunding the JD 17 Sibley McLeod outlet fees in the Sibley County Courthouse Basement Meeting Room, 400 Court Avenue, Gaylord, Minnesota, on Wednesday, March 31, 2021 at 1:30 p.m. And item L, notification of board workshops to be held following the board meeting on April 6, 2021 at the McLeod County Government Center, 520 Chandler Avenue North, Glencoe, Minnesota.
Mr. Chair, I think it might be wise to just clarify who's all involved in all these ditch hearings, because it's a mix of all of us. And so, as I see it, item F is the full board. Item G would be myself, Commissioner Kruger, and Nagel. Item I believe, is myself and Commissioner Luthens. Item J is a full board. And item K is back to myself, Kruger, and Nagel. I know sometimes it gets a little confusing, so just wanted to make sure that we get that straightened out here.
Especially when they're blended all
Yeah,
together.
they're all over the place, and somehow I'm on every one of them, so. But,
Mike's on every one of them, too. So.
I would just note that if it's S. Sibley McLeod, typically Sibley's going to have more, and their auditor has the records, and their county attorney does the advising. If McLeod County is first, so if it's McLeod Sibley, then it's our records. We have the majority of the land. So if you're wondering why the initials get switched around, like in ditch 17 and ditch 18, ditch 18 is Sibley McLeod, joint ditch 17 is McLeod Sibley. So the first one has the majority of the land.
Yep.
And has three commissioners. The second has two, and there are a couple where it's 3-1-1, Renville, Sibley, McLeod.
Thank you, Mike. And that works in reverse for the other counties. We may only have one.
Right.
So, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else? Open forum. Anyone present that would like to address the board? Press relations. Karen? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I did just want to mention that we've had Zoom going for this meeting as well. There is, at this point, no comments from anyone in the public.
Oh, thank you. I had kind of forgot that. Yes. And I think we're going to continue that for a while, so it's if anybody does hear that is a venue to to get a question in here if they need to. All right, close meeting. Motion's been made to close the meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to close the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's closed.